Well, thank God it's Friday. This is Carrie, and this is the Peace Party, and thank you for joining us again. Uh, we wanted to start real quick with the recap of the week, in a way, because it's been a hard week, and every week is just going to be hard, let's just face it. But with what we have going, we did make a bunch of proposals this week and reiterated proposals from the following week. And of course, at the end of the week on Friday, we always like to rehash things, talk about it, and see where we're going to go next week. One of the things that came up this week that we reacted to, which typically is not our modus operandi, but when we see something that needs to be added to an issue and a proposal that needs to be added and made based on somebody else's action, excuse me, still have not gotten over this cough. Maybe it has something to do with the right wing. I doubt it. The idea that students should be made to work instead of getting an education is just so problematic. It's just, there's nothing about this that is correct. And so what we see happening in Florida, we know for a fact it's going to happen in other conservative states, especially in the South, because there's certain regions in this country that just absolutely have no respect for our students, our educators, our scholastic community in general. They're looked at in the most ridiculous way as the enemy. And although this has been brought up by people on the left a number of times recently, and it almost feels like you're beating a dead horse. But for those of you who are not familiar, this is not something new. Most certainly in the 20th century, we saw when Lenin had won his revolution that there was a big uproar within some of the education community in Russia. And the same thing happened in Germany with the rise of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler. They went after education. Now, why do you go after education? Well, that is historically been where new ideas come from. And I guess it makes sense. And one of the things that we have learned, number one, if you're over the age of 50 and all you can say is that it won't work, sit down, be quiet, you're done. You have no more to offer, you have no more to say. Because everybody, certainly under the age of 35, is looking at you and going, you're useless. You have nothing to offer me now. And you would rather see me die of hunger out in the cold, homeless, than do anything about it. So if you're over the age of 50 and you can't see that there is hope at the end of the tunnel, don't bother anyone. Just sit down, be quiet. You're useless. And that may seem harsh, but think about it from somebody who's 25 years old in college and seeing everything that's going on. That would be an issue, don't you think? They're not seeing that you really have their best interests at heart. And that's a problem. And age has always been a dividing line in movements. And that is so why it is important to work with the people, more importantly, under the age of 35 than over 35, because that's where the energy is. That's where the future is. And although somebody who's 42 may have more experience, do you? what is your experience? Because I personally, at the age of 62, yeah, I've been through a number of things. This month, about right now, I made one of the most ridiculous decisions I can think of from my past. I put forth the motion to impeach the student body president at Northern Illinois University. It was March 1985, and as a result of that decision, chaos erupted. Because unfortunately, nobody on the left cared about due process. Before the term witch hunt was ever used, this was a bona fide witch hunt. It was crafted in July of 1984, right before Inauguration Day, where the outgoing president came to us in a meeting and asked, well, basically told us that we had the votes. I don't know what that meant, in the sense that I guess he was counting votes with the idea that he knew where everybody was going to go. That was an assumption in the first place. But he came to us with this idea that we should impeach the student body president on Inauguration Day, and that was okay. Well, we have seen in 2025 universities get all flipped out about somebody protesting an international issue in a foreign country. Can you imagine what would have happened at Northern Illinois University if the student body government, the student government, had impeached the student body president on Inauguration Day without any due process simply because we had the votes? How far do you think that would have flown? You think that would have been appropriate? Well, I certainly didn't. But as time went on, I was the sole representative for every renter for Northern Illinois University and the city of DeKalb. And I was the representative on the DeKalb Housing Advisory Board, rewriting all of the city's housing laws. And as time went on, I could see they were redlining the city, which was going to lead to a form of discrimination. Students versus townspeople, if we'll go there. I don't know what other term to use, DeKalb residents. And it was going to lead to higher prices for renters on the west side of town where the northern NIU campus was. I brought this up to the leftists that I was living with, the idiot that wanted me to impeach the student body president on Inauguration Day, and nobody would get up off their butt to help me. So to be honest with you, I think my anger was as much directed toward the idiots that I was living with and these leftist morons who were just all talk and no action, beating their chests about communism. I'm on the DeKalb Housing Advisory Board. We're not going communist. This was not a communist committee. So get your head out of your ass, was my thought process. Stop being stupid. Nobody wants to hear this shit. Nobody wants to hear it today, which is the thing that gets me with some of the leftists today. I still know people spewing forth Marxist, Leninist rhetoric. Grow up and realize what country we live in. If you want to succeed, this is the thing that I don't think the left wants. They want to be correct, but do they want to be right? Because in the minds of the general population within the United States of America, Marxism is not something that they want to entertain. Communism is not something that they want to talk about. You can talk about the idea of universal health care, but some of the people on the left just need to use the word communism and immediately turn off any person in the middle who might be thinking that universal health care might just be a good idea. The left does not know sometimes how to communicate. And I saw this as a problem when I was on the DeKalb Housing Advisory Board, trying to get my roommates and other people in the Student Body Senate, and including the Student Body President, Dave Tack, to listen to me. Get up off their butts and come with me to a few meetings. Show their presence. Have my back. No one would. No one. So I foolishly took it out on Dave Tack, the Student Body President of Northern Illinois University. And like I said, it was just chaos. There was no case presented. It was just insane. It was insanity. And with that in mind, we had to think about it and say, you know, we succeeded in getting rid of this guy, but did we really succeed? What did we succeed with? Did we accomplish the goal? No, we did not accomplish the goal. It made a whole bunch of stupid people feel good for a moment. It was the most childish thing that I've been through as an adult. That was 40 years ago. And it's something that I have not forgotten about, because it's something, when you make a mistake, you should learn from it. And I learned a heck of a lot. I also learned that maybe I could have done a better job of just getting off my butt and myself getting off my butt and going out onto campus and making it a lot more obvious. But between being on the housing board and being tenant union director and being in school, I dropped the ball. I didn't do as much organizing as maybe I should have. And now I know better. Which is one of the things with the Peace Party we know is that it's got to be a gradual effort where we organize people slowly with the idea that we bring people in and don't exclude anyone. Which is one of the reasons why we're avoiding some of these silly buzzwords like communism. Because we're not a communist organization. We do not wish to be a communist organization. However, we've got programs and proposals that only the dumb person who does not understand marketing would claim to be socialist or communist. The other thing that I did 20 years ago was look to buy a bar in Amsterdam. Right now, at this very moment, we're closing up and I'm leaving that particular bar because, well, it turned out that the guy was trying to launder money. How dumb. This was 2005, right after 9/11, if you think about 01, 05 not being that far apart. Who on earth ever would have thought somebody would be dumb enough to think that they could launder money? Huh? Really? Whoever thought that they could do that? Or an American would want to get stuck in this? So I made another huge mistake in trying to do this. Long story short, I'm still here. Word to the wise, number one, don't ever buy a bar from a coffee shop owner in Amsterdam because they're laundering money. You're going to get stuck in something that you don't want to be involved with, so don't do that. And number two, if you ever do go to buy something, whether it be business or home, make sure that you have an attorney. Don't be cheap. Don't be dumb. Immediately get an attorney. Have everything reviewed before you give any money over to anybody, so this way you won't lose money. My little tip for the day. Don't be a dumb fool like I was. And so the point with this is to make it very clear that someone like me does have a history. And when we put together proposals, it's based out of reality, based out of what we have learned and seen from the past and know could be done better in the future. And so with the Peace Party next week, we're going to be doing the same thing all over again. But however, now, Education Monday, we're going to be talking a little bit more about economics when it comes to child labor. Because to us at the Peace Party, those two issues now have been intertwined. If a kid has to go to work, they are not going to be able to do the homework that they should be doing. They're not going to be able to sleep and get a good night's rest. They're not going to be able to have friends. They're not going to have a social life, which then means they're not going to have a dating life. And a lot of people on the right are all upset that there's not enough babies being born. Well, if you make kids work at the age of 12, 13, 14, the likelihood of them developing a social ladder for them to climb up over time will be diminished because they're working. And having been that person who worked the entire summer of his 12-year-old life, I know for a fact how that damages someone's future and how that can take away from the best that could be that person. And when you take away what could be the best of that person, you diminish that person. So this whole idea of making kids work is going to be part of what we talk about on Mondays from now on, not just education, but we're going to be talking about the rights of students in general, because we now see that there is a big push to make sure that students have no rights, and we will not stand for that. So with that, we're going to let you go, but we always have to ask the question, do you have the answer yet? What's a reasonable profit for a landlord to make on an apartment unit that costs $1,000 a month to operate? Total, $1,000 a month to operate. What's a reasonable profit? Please let us know, and we'll see you on Monday. Thanks.